G'day guys, this is James here, and now for the big one, the final match preview of the 2014 Toyota AFL season, and it is the grand final, which will be between the Sydney Swans and the Hawthorn Hawks. It is at 2:30 at the MCG on Saturday afternoon. There's been a massive build up to this game, so let's get straight into it. Start by looking at the ins and outs of both teams, and the Swans will go in unchanged with Adam Goodes playing his 350th game. What a milestone, what a champion. Now, for Hawthorn, you've got Segler and Simpkin both being omitted for Ben McAvoy and Cyril Rioli. Now, that's going to cause some arguments, and I think it should, but I'll go into that. Bradley Hill and Matt Spang are both playing 50 games. So they're the milestones for Hawthorn. Now I'll go into prior games and I'll go all the way back till the final round or the final game of 2012, which was the 2012 AFL Grand Final, where Sydney defeated Hawthorn by 10 points, 81-91, in front of 99,683 people. Now since that game, round 7 2013, Hawthorn won 119-82 at the MCG. Then in round 23 of that same year, the Swans lost at ANZ Stadium to Hawthorn, where it was 100-112. The match after that, which was the first round of the finals in 2013, Hawthorn smashed Sydney. It was 105-51. Then round 8 of this year, Swans won at ANZ Stadium 107-88. And then in round 18 of this year, Hawthorn won 104-94. So I'll quickly go into some stats and the form of these teams. The Swans finished first on the ladder with 17 wins and 5 losses, the same as Hawthorn, 17 wins and 5 losses. 2% separated these teams, but the Swans were a much better defensive team, while the Hawks were a much stronger attacking team, which is shown with Hawthorn having 3 players kick over 50 goals this season. And we'll look at the key stats, which all the stats, as you'd expect from the top 2 teams, are very similar, with Hawthorn leading the disposal count by on average of 13 and clearances on average by 2. Swans winning the inside 50s by an average of 2, winning contested possessions on average by 4. Hitouts, Hawthorn were up quite a bit. It was 8, and Swans with the free kicks by 1. The largest, probably the largest percentage, well, other than the hitouts, is tackles, where the Swans average 11 more tackles, 73-62. Now, in an AFL Grand Final, we can expect those tackle numbers to be a lot higher than what they have been throughout the season. But the Swans have just shown they're a better tackling team, but again, Hawthorn, with the high disposals, the better clearances, and the more hitouts, that could show. So I'll look at alright, so I'll go into some players in the teams that. I'll start with the Hawthorn, and I'll start with the unlucky ones with Segler and Simpkin for McAvoy and Cyril. Now, I sat down on Sunday and watched the VFL Grand Final. I was watching it quite intently, not only to see the future rising stars of the Bulldogs, and even there was something like 33 out of the 46 players on the field that were AFL listed. So it wasn't even future stars, it's current stars. But Cyril Rioli got 7 disposals in that game, in his first game back from his hamstring injury. And he didn't do much, in all honesty. He got through the game, which is what I'm thinking Hawthorn wanted, but his effectiveness wasn't there. You know, he stepped out onto the field, and that's why 90% of the people went and watched this game, was to see Cyril play. And he didn't do much. He really didn't do anything amazing on the field. So, it's a very weird inclusion for me, and Hawthorn are risking quite a bit putting him there, and he has to play well. They need the grand finals are won by the worst 4 players, and if he plays poorly, Hawthorn will lose. And it's the same with Ben McAvoy. They withdrew him from last week's grand final, and by the way, the Bulldogs, or Footscray, beat Box Hill by quite a bit. Ben McAvoy comes in for Segler. Now Segler's been playing really good footy. I can't see McAvoy coming in with only VFL experience in the last couple of weeks behind. He hasn't played since round 21, so he's missed his whole final series and comes in for the grand final. I think that's a pretty poor move. And it's really unlucky for Simpkin and Segler. And even Brad Sewell is unlucky. They're all Segler, Simpkin, and Brad Sewell have all been named emergencies, and they're all really unlucky not to get in there. And there's always going to be unlucky ones in AFL Grand Finals. But to see Cyril and McAvoy in there, I think that Simpkin could have performed better than Cyril, and I think that Segler's been playing well enough to hold his spot. He would have held his spot in any other team these last couple of weeks. But I'll go into some key matchups, and start with the forward line of Hawthorn versus the back line of Sydney. Now, the forward line lineup for Hawthorn looks like this: Luke Bruce, Jack Gunston, and Jordan Lewis. Ben McAvoy, Jared Roughhead, I'm talking about the Bulldogs, and Paul Puopolo versus Nick Smith, Ted Richards, Rhys Shaw, Gary Rowan, Heath Grundy, Dane Rampy. Now, both that forward line and that defence for Sydney have been really strong this year, as in really strong. They've been brilliant for both of them. And you see that by, well, you've got, where is he? Nick Malchesi off the interchange bench for Sydney, coming off, well, not even an injury, but with him in there, in the back line, there are two All-Australian back lines players for Sydney, and then there's two All-Australian forwards for Hawthorn. So, it's a very even battle. Teddy Richards will go to Jared Roughhead. Key back, key forward, that's pretty well so. And Ted Richards does quite often let in a couple of goals, but he'll keep him subdued. And I think Hawthorn will have to push Jared Roughhead up the ground to make him have more of an impact in this game, because Ted Richards is a really good shutdown player. Yes, a couple of players will kick a couple of goals on him, but they're not going to kick bags on him, and he keeps them subdued on the ground level as well. So I think Jared Roughhead will have to move up the ground to do a bit more. And then you look at Bruce and Gunston. Nick Smith will probably go to Luke Bruce, probably play a bit of time on Puopolo as well, but probably start on Bruce. And Grundy will probably go to Gunston. And then you look at Ben McAvoy. The Swans will probably have to drop someone back to sit with him, which at the start of the game will probably be a drifting back, so it'll probably be a Rhys Shaw or a Nick Malchesi to drift back to help out with the extra big man down there. But you don't be surprised if Gary Rowan plays primarily off that back line. He's got the run, yes, but we know he can play a good defence. So we'll go into the midfield battle now, and in the midfield for Hawthorn, there is Bradley Hill, Will Langford, Isaac Smith, David Hale, Liam Shields, and Sean Burgoyne versus Kieran Jack, Josh Kennedy, Lewis Jetta, Mike Pike, Luke Parker, and Jared McVeigh. Now, bit surprising to me seeing, that's just the lineup, how they've been listed. So, who will Will Langford go to? I reckon, and people may say he might go to Kieran Jack, I reckon he'll go to Luke Parker. The way Luke Parker's been playing the second half of the year, he's been tremendous. Unlucky to be All-Australian. I'm sure a lot of people will agree with me on that. He'll probably go to him. That midfield battle, as it stands now, the Swans have spoken about this, and I've read into it, that the Swans are going to try and eliminate Hawthorn's outside run, which is Isaac Smith and Bradley Hill. So they will probably run Jake Lloyd on Isaac Smith, because he's a very good gut runner, and they will run Harry Cunningham on Bradley Hill. Now, those two players, as in for the Swans, Lloyd and Cunningham, are very willing, and they do it week in and week out, they give up their game. They may not get a touch, but they give up their game for the team cause. So they will make sure that Bradley Hill and Isaac Smith don't have an impact on this game. So that's two players out for each team, but I believe that Hawthorn's two are probably more damaging than the Swans' two. So I think that'll eliminate the outside run. So it's going to be one in the midfield, in the congestion. And we know that the best congested player in the comp at the moment is Josh Kennedy. Now, if Mike Pike can stand up to David Hale, which I don't think he can, David Hale's a better ruckman, and he is a very good ruckman. But in that congestion, I can see the Swans' inside men beating Hawthorn's inside men. As in, yes, you've got, where is he? I'm looking, Sam Mitchell, you've got Jordan Lewis, you've got Burgoyne in there. But again, these guys do tend, other than Lewis and Mitchell, But if you look at Isaac Smith, Bradley Hill, Liam Shields, Sean Burgoyne, they prefer to sit on the outside, let those men get inside, and then get the handballs out, and then hit it to an Isaac Smith or a Bradley Hill. That inside ball and those quick, sharp handballs between Kennedy, Parker, McVeigh, Hanbury, Kieran Jack, they're short, sharp handballs, and they prefer the congested footy. So I think the Swans will win it in the midfield. Now the forward line for Sydney with Dan Hanbury up against next to his best mate Lance Franklin, Harry Cunningham. We've already spoken about Cunningham. Adam Goods, Tippett, and McLinn versus Gibson, Lake, Birchall, Mitchell, Stratton, Hodge. So I can see Gibson going on Buddy. Lake will go on Tippett. Now, Gibson would prefer to drift, but they'll need him on Buddy. What will happen is we've still got Goods in there. Birchall will probably go to Goods. And then you've got McLinn and Hanbury will run through the midfield. I reckon Jetta will come back down onto the half-forward line. I reckon the Hawks have the power to stop the Swans forwards, the power forwards. But I don't think it's going to be one with the big forwards this week. As in, I reckon Buddy and Tippett will both kick goals. And they've both been in really good form. If they put all the attention on Franklin, they'll put Tippett in the goal square. If they put all the attention on Tippett, they'll put Franklin in the goal square. They'll both win one-on-ones. But I think that the short forwards will win it. Your Ben McLinns, your Craig Birds, your Luke Parkers even can drift forward and kick those goals. So I don't think the Hawks have the answer for the short forwards. I think they have the answer for the tall forwards and the strong forwards, but they don't have the answer for the short forwards. So that's my opinion. All right, we'll look at the interchange benches because I haven't done that so far. For Hawthorn, you've got Cyril Rioli, Taylor Duray, Matt Spanger, and Matthew Suckling, and Craig Bird, Lloyd, Malcheski, and Reid for Sydney. So the Swans have set up their bench is set up with two forwards. Or Sam Reid's a very good swingman. He's turning into that. I think he should play defence permanently, but it's not going to happen. Malcheski off the half-back line, Lloyd the gut runner, and Bird short forward midfielder. And then you've got Cyril, Duray, Spanger, and Suckling. Now, Spanger is a pretty good wingman. He'll play off the half-back line, though. Suckling, that running off the half-back through the midfield or even push forward. Cyril Rioli, that short forward. He can play on the wing, but I don't think he will with his hammy. And Duray, he can play off the back line and through the midfield. The depth in the Swans team is just to be marvelled, I've got to say. Look at the emergencies if there's an unlucky withdrawal or a lucky inclusion. For Sydney, you've got Tom Mitchell, Jeremy Laidler, and Dean Towers. For Hawthorn, there's Segler, Simpkin, and Sewell. So, the three unlucky ones for Hawthorn are there. The Swans depends on who disappears. If the Swans can pick, if a midfielder goes out, Tom Mitchell will come in, or even a forward goes out. Backman goes out, Jeremy Laidler will come in. If a tall goes out or a forward goes out, Dean Towers will come in. It's the same with Hawthorn with Segler, Simpkin, and Sewell, but again, they don't have that forward or that key forward or that key back to replace if, I know, lo and behold, Josh Gibson breaks his arm tomorrow. But, again, so now on to my tips. Actually, before I do the tips, I want to have a look at the TAB live odds at this stage. So, it's going to be a tough one, but the Swans are going in favourite at $1.58 on the TAB versus Hawthorn's $2.45. Now, they have been up and down, but yes, at this stage, the Swans are the favourite. Now, I'm going to look at some, I haven't done it yet, but some really key matchups, win or lose matchups. So, I've done forward, mid, back, but I haven't done the key ones. So, I'll not look at Hill, Smith, Cunningham, and Lloyd. I'm going to start with the big one, mate on mate, Gibson versus Buddy. I think Gibson can beat Buddy. He's just shown from his last two games for Sydney. What has he kicked? I can't remember the exact numbers. It's like 4 goals 11 or 2 goals 7 or something like that. So they're really good at pushing Buddy to where he doesn't want to be kicking it from, and he doesn't kick goals. So I think Gibson can beat Buddy there. But again, if Buddy gets 2 metres on his own for 5 minutes, he kick 5 goals. So he needs to be very careful. And they can't put all their attention on Buddy because, again, there is Tippett, there is Reid, there is Goodsy, plus the small forwards that can all kick goals, and even the midfielders that can kick goals, and the rucks. So, I think Gibson can beat Buddy, but it's not just Buddy you need to worry about in that forward line. Alright, I'll move on to the Roughhead versus Ted Richards. I've gone into this a little bit, but as I said before, I think that Teddy Richards can keep Ruffy subdued while he plays in the forward line. Ruffy will probably still kick goals. I reckon Ruffy will kick 3 or 4. But for him to have an overall impact in this game, he needs to press up the ground a bit more. I can't see him leading out of the goal square and the Hawks winning the game with him doing that all day. They'll need to see Roughhead move through the midfield, move off the wing, even play off the back line at some stages, just to swing things around a bit, push it out a bit, and that way Hawthorn will be able to rotate their mids through the forward, they'll be able to rotate Ruffy around and actually get him involved in the game, because that's what he'll need. Alright, and the other big midfield battle I see, and they probably won't go head-to-head, it's not going to happen, but the same style players, Jordan Lewis versus Josh Kennedy. Now, they won't go head-to-head, I don't see it happening, but they're both inside mid players. Jordan Lewis was a bit stiff to not pole a bit better in the Brownlow. He just didn't get under the umpire's eyes. Josh Kennedy did pole well, but you notice that the way Josh Kennedy plays, gets in and under, he doesn't have a great disposal efficiency, but he does get a lot of contested possessions, gets it out and hacks it forward. And even if that goes over the boundary line, that can get them 50 metres if he does that. Jordan Lewis is better at delivering, but he's not as good in and under. So it all depends on whether the game is going to be a really contested footy, which is what the Swans will want, whether it'll be a big running game, which is what the Hawks will want. So if the Swans can lock it in for the first quarter, and chances are they'll probably go down probably be losing at quarter time, but if the Swans can lock it in and make Hawthorn tired with that tackling pressure, I don't see the Hawks coming back from that. They've got the run, they've got the legs, they're all very fit, but depending on both these teams need to assert it from the start and play it on their own terms. Right, going into my tip. Now this is a hard one for me to do, but looking at the sides, looking at the depth, and looking at the form alone, Swans coming off 70, don't remember exactly, 71 points against North Melbourne, and Hawthorn coming off 3 points against Port. I think that answers the question about who's going to win this weekend. Hawthorn will be a bit tighter. Swans turned off in the second half, let alone last quarter. Hawks had to fight all the way to the finish. So, saying that, I think the Sydney Swans will win. And I think they'll win by about 4 goals. I think it'll be 23 points. I don't think it's going to be as close as people are saying it will be. I think it'll be out there, 23 points-ish. My first goal scorer is Jack Gunston, and my Norm Smith medal goes to Josh Kennedy. So that's my personal tip. Right, so thanks for watching the grand final preview. I will be doing the rest of these end of season reviews. I haven't got to be able to do that yet. I've been very busy the last couple of weeks. I need to have a shout out to Pies. Taught me how to film these properly so they're full screen. So watch my other videos, comment or like this, share it around, do what you want. Put a bet on, don't listen to what I say, abuse me if you want. Prefer it if you didn't, but you can. Alright, so this is James, grand final preview. You've just watched it. Keep an eye out for more videos, check out my rest, and good luck for whichever side you're going to. Me personally, I know it's a bit one-sided, but go the Swannies. And I'll catch you next time. Have a good one.